Love. That magical, mystical force that compels people to write sonnets, sing ballads, and occasionally marry their cousin. Wait, what? Yep, you heard that right. There's a recent spike in pop culture's weird flirtation with, shall we say, overly close family ties. From historical dramas brushing it off as normal to internet communities whispering, but if they're both adults. There's been a creeping normalization of familial entanglements. So here at the Debunkers, we're dusting off our Punnett squares to ask, is keeping it in the family really that bad? You've probably heard that offspring of closely related individuals can face serious health risks. History has already shown us what happens when entire dynasties make genetic roulette their favorite pastime. Take the Habsburgs of Europe, who practically turned inbreeding into a family tradition. Their famous Habsburg jaw, a protruding lower jaw so pronounced it looked like evolution hit the fast-forward button on the wrong setting, was just one visible symptom. Behind the scenes, infertility, epilepsy, and early deaths galore. Charles II of Spain, a tragic poster child for the genetic consequences of royal matchmaking, suffered from severe physical and intellectual disability. He was so frail and cognitively impaired that his reign was more like a very long nap, one he never really woke up from. The Egyptian Ptolemies weren't much better. Determined to keep the bloodline as pure as their gold, they married siblings like it was a mandatory family reunion activity. Cleopatra married two of her brothers because nothing says romance like arguing over both the throne and who gets the top bunk. These historical cautionary tales are like screaming billboards saying, "Don't do this." Royal families didn't just suffer from bizarre jawlines, they became living genetic experiments gone sideways. And that's just the stuff we have records of. Who knows how many kings and queens were hiding more than just affairs behind palace walls? But why does this happen? It's all about genetics, but let's unpack that a bit more. Our DNA is a bit like a very messy office filing cabinet. Everyone has some filing errors, mutations, but most of the time, they're hidden away in the back of the drawer, not causing much trouble. However, when two people with matching filing errors, aka recessive mutations, decide to create a mini-me, the chances of those errors doubling up skyrocket. Suddenly, those harmless filing errors become very problematic. But maybe you're thinking, okay, but what if there's no baby involved? Good question, hypothetical viewer. Even in relationships where no procreation occurs, the psychological and social consequences can still be massive. For starters, familial roles exist for a reason. When those roles are blurred, say when your uncle becomes your boyfriend, it disrupts the very fabric of family dynamics. We're talking about power imbalances, emotional manipulation, and identity confusion. Ever tried explaining to your therapist that your partner is also your aunt? Yeah, good luck. Moreover, even without babies in the mix, there's the societal context. Human societies, across cultures and continents, have developed these taboos for very good reasons. Many of them evolutionary. The Westermark effect, for example, is the natural repulsion we tend to feel toward people we were raised with closely in early childhood. It's nature's way of saying, maybe don't date your sibling. When people violate this, it's not just a private matter. It undermines social trust, disrupts family structures, and sets off alarm bells in evolutionary psychologists everywhere. And before someone mentions ancient royalty, yes, the Ptolemies married their siblings. They also believed the sun was a god and had a pyramid scheme literally made of stone. Not exactly the best model for modern relationships. Then there's the argument. But what about love? Isn't love love? Sure, and arsenic is technically a naturally occurring compound, but that doesn't mean you should put it in your tea. Love doesn't exempt anyone from biological reality or ethical standards. We regulate love all the time. We don't let 40-year-olds date 12-year-olds, for instance. Because context, consequences, and consent matter. So what's the bottom line? Genetically, intra-family affairs increases risks in ways we can measure with hard science and sad statistics. Psychologically, it's a hot mess of power dynamics and trauma. And socially, it's about as acceptable as licking your plate at a state dinner. But what's the helpful takeaway here? For starters, maybe let's not romanticize these relationships in media without, a giant neon sign saying, "This is a terrible idea." And if you're feeling emotionally drawn to someone very close to you, get therapy, not matching rings. There are healthier ways to feel connection and intimacy that don't require rewriting your family tree into a tangled knot. And finally, let's all remember that being open-minded is good, but your brain shouldn't fall out in the process. If you enjoyed this brain-stretching dive into familial faux pas, give us a like, leave a comment, but maybe don't overshare on this topic, and subscribe for more myth-busting madness. We're the Debunkers, and we believe in truth, science, and not dating your cousin. Until next time.